to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. Fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. Fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us. Fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Fa la 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 la.
Hello everyone, you are catching me doing some prep work for my barn coat. So this has been giving me such a headache. It's one of those projects where, you know, when you've got it all prepped and ready to go, but you just can't stop thinking about how to do it. That's what it's been like for me. I've been really worried about how this binding is going to work and how I'm going to finish the seams. Yeah, I was a bit worried about the binding. I wondered if I should go and buy some shop bought binding. I didn't end up looking for the Mind the Maker binding in the end. Just didn't think it was worth it. I'm not going to buy more Mind the Maker fabric because I spent so much on the fabric to make my own binding. So what I've been doing this morning is actually overlocking each piece of the jacket just to bind in the sort of this situation, because when I've used quilted fabrics in the past and I've tried to bind it, it's definitely, with the exception of quilts I think, but it's definitely easier to have the seams bound or overlocked, sorry, before you start binding, because it just holds everything together. So it is a bit of a pain to do and it's definitely not something you have to do, but I've just found it easier to do that in the past. But while I was overlocking, because this fabric has quite a large quilted pattern on it, there are areas of the fabric that are quite open. So when it was going through the overlocker, it was kind of puckering a little bit, which was quite annoying. So that gave me a little bit of a headache. Then I wondered if I shouldn't be overlocking, then I carried on. You're catching me with a project where I really am just kind of making it up as I go along and hoping for the best. So I'm just going to make the best of this situation. I actually wonder in hindsight if I would have been better to line this jacket like I did with my recent wool version, because actually lining sometimes, although it can be a bit of a pain, it does kind of hide everything, doesn't it? So that, you know, I would have been hiding all of the raw quilted edges, wouldn't have had to worry about the binding. But I did think when I bought this fabric that having the quilted fabric kind of negated the need for lining. So it's been a bit of a back and forth one. But if you are planning to sew a jacket like this, then maybe they are things that you might like to consider. So what I've decided is actually I don't mind the look of this overlocking. So I think what I'm going to do, rather than sort of stress myself out about binding every single seam, I'm only going to bind the seams that are going to be visible when I'm wearing the jacket. So that will be the side seams and the button band seams at the front. Obviously the neck seam is going to be enclosed in the collar, and then the shoulder and sleeve seams you're not going to see anyway, because obviously when you're wearing the jacket your seams are under your arm, aren't they? So there just didn't seem any point really in stressing myself out too much about binding those seams when I have overlocked them and it looks fine. And then obviously the cuffs will be the finishing on the bottom of the sleeves as well, because they will turn back and enclose all the raw edges. Here's a little example actually of how the fabric can be quite open when you're binding it or when you're overlocking, because it has such a wide, sort of big quilted pattern on it. I don't know really of a way to get around that. Perhaps I should have done some other prep, I'm not sure. I've just had a go at binding my little test square here with a little bit of scrap binding, and it does look really nice. I really do like the finish of that, and I'm going to do that single layered, so I'm not going to sew the seams and then bind. I'm going to bind the seams first and then I'm going to sew the jacket together. So I'm hoping that once all this prep work is out the way, the jacket is actually going to be quite quick to come together. So I was going to just pop to Hobbycraft and get myself some cotton to match this fabric, but actually it turns out I've already got some. So hopefully that will give me enough to do the binding at least, and I do have to go to Hobbycraft anyway later because I need to get some cotton for another project. So I will maybe pick up some more green cotton then, but for now I'm just going to sit and do this binding and hope for the best and catch up on some Vlogmases while I'm just sitting here sewing. Okay, we are bound as far as I can be at the moment. It actually wasn't half as bad as I was expecting it to be with this fabric, so I was totally overthinking that. I couldn't press it, but it was fine to kind of just press or finger press the fabric to the inside to get the binding stitched under, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't go to any extreme measures there and buy any new binding or anything like that, because absolutely fine in the end. In fact, I enjoyed the binding so much. I do find binding quite therapeutic actually. I was just sitting there listening to some Vlogmases, sewing away. I'm quite used to binding because I used to bind a lot of quilts, and I do find it quite sort of satisfying to do because you're binding in all of those raw edges and just gives such a lovely finish. So this is what it looks like at the moment. This is one of the fronts. So you can see the bound edge there. It just looks so lovely, doesn't it? And I love the fact this binding matches perfectly as well. So since I was having such a lovely time binding, in the end I decided to bind the shoulder seams as well. And because I'd then bound the shoulder seams or the shoulders, I then had to bind the shoulders of the sleeves as well. So actually the only bit that isn't bound is the sleeves, underarm sleeves, which you're not going to see anyway. So I think that is absolutely fine. And at the moment I've just left the bottom of the hem because I will bind the hem all in one go once the side seams are done. So yeah, I'm going to leave things here for today and move on to another project, which I need to get cut out this afternoon. Yeah, and I will catch up with you hopefully in a few days' time. I'm working through this slowly, as you can probably tell, but it's doing me some good, I think. It's nice to have a slow project on the go, although it does give you more time to overthink things, doesn't it? If I'd have done all this binding last week when I initially started, I wouldn't have been thinking about it for this past week. But there you go. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that turned out. I will catch up with you in a few days, hopefully, so that we can do more sewing on this and see what happens. I hope the lighting in this clip isn't going to be too awful. It is so dark and it's only 10 to 3. It's one of those wintry days where it just hasn't really got light properly, and we've had the lights on pretty much all day long. I feel like I look a little bit ghostly and yellow in this light, but I'm just going to have to go with it. So I've got about 15 minutes before I have to pop and do the school run and then pop out, but I thought I would just quickly share with you my latest knitting project. So I currently have 2 knitting projects on the go at the moment. The Rowan cowl that I shared with you last week, which is the more difficult sort of more concentration required type project that I've got on the go at the moment, because it has like a twisted cable rib to it, which I'm really enjoying doing, but it does make my mind work a little bit harder. So I decided to cast on something a little bit easier that I could work on at the same time. When we went to the Mode at Rowan workshop in May, I can't believe it was that long ago, but back in May we listened to a really interesting lady who spoke a lot about mindfulness and crafting. We were talking about the importance of having something mindless on the go and also something that sort of challenges your brain a little bit more. So it kind of gave me the permission that I needed to have 2 knitting projects on the go, because normally I'm just a one project at a time kind of girl when it comes to knitting. In the past I've just wanted to sort of focus on one thing and put all of my energy into that, but actually I am beginning to realise that it is good to have something that you can just do without thinking, and also something that challenges you a bit more, because if you do feel really tired and you just want to sit and watch the telly but you do want to knit, you don't necessarily want to be doing something that sort of makes you concentrate too much, if that makes sense. So anyway, this is what I've decided to knit alongside that cowl. It's the Mode at Rowan Salthouse sweater vest, or pullover, whatever you call this kind of vest. I think they're more commonly called slipovers these days, aren't they? It doesn't actually say on this pattern. So this is quite a simple style pullover, and it's knit with a rib at the bottom and then all in stockinette, all in the round up and through the armholes, and then I believe you sort of separate from the armholes and then you knit the front and back separately and join the shoulders, and then the neckline and the armholes are knit on double pointed needles or a circular needle. So I'm hoping this is going to be quite a nice simple project. This is actually knit with 2 types of yarn. It's 2 types of yarn held together. I actually ordered this yarn directly from Rowan. It wasn't gifted, I did buy it, just for clarity. I love buying directly from Rowan because they really do package things nicely. So this is my yarn and the colourway that I decided to go with. So we've got this one, which is a nice light grey. I forget what colour this is, but I will list it in the description. And I think this one is the equivalent to a DK weight yarn, and it's held together with this alpaca haze, which is a sort of mohair equivalent. So really quite thin and really quite fluffy. It's actually the same yarn that I'm using to knit my snood with, but that's actually held with 2 strands together to make it a little bit thicker. So I've not knit very far on this at all at the moment because I've been faffing around with tension squares and things. We need to make 8 centimetres of rib, so it is quite a deep sort of ribbed hem, and then we change to 4mm needles for the stocking stitch. I am enjoying knitting in the round again, I have to say, because knitting my last project flat, I just did not enjoy the sewing up. So it's always good to know that there's not going to be any of that at the end of your project when you are knitting in the round. But I thought I would just share that one with you. I think that's going to be... I actually do have something else that I wouldn't mind knitting before Christmas as a little gift. Something that's just popped into my mind that I thought I might try and squeeze in before Christmas. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. No pressure. I'm just going to see how it goes. And I will maybe share a little bit more about that with you later in the video. It seems appropriate while I'm talking about knitting to just give a quick mention to the sponsor of today's video, which is Serious Readers. And I just want to say thank you to Serious Readers for being such a big support to my channel this year. As you'll know, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, I do work quite closely with Serious Readers, talking about how I use their HD lights in my own crafting life. So now that I'm back in my own chair, my dog has actually moved out of the way so that I can sit down. You can see, here he is. You can see here that this is where my Serious Readers HD light normally lives, and this is where I tend to do all of my crafting, all of my close-up work in the mornings and in the evenings. So I just wanted to give a shot of my light on the camera so that you can see just how bright it actually is. I find our living room to be quite dark in the winter months because of the way the house is facing. It doesn't get sunlight anyway until later in the afternoon. And when we are in the winter months, when it gets dark at around 4 o'clock anyway, we barely get any light in this room. So it really is handy. When I sit down to knit or read in the evenings, just pop on my light here, and it just gives me that extra bit of focus on whatever I'm working on. So I actually use my light for knitting, crochet, reading, and also machine sewing as well, because it does have a lightweight base. I can actually move it from where it lives here into the dining room where I do all of my cutting out and machine sewing. And the daylight wavelength technology really does make everything that little bit clearer. Daylight wavelength technology is something that is unique to Serious Readers. It's something that all their HD lights have that replicates the daylight spectrum as close as is technically possible. So it does make you feel as though you're working in daylight, even though it might be dark outside. All Serious Readers HD lights also come with a dimmer function and a beam width function as well, so you can get just the right focus on exactly what you're working on. My light is a floor standing HD light with a lightweight base. You can also get heavyweight bases. If you're not planning to move your light around as much as I do, then this could be a really good option. They also have desk lights on their website and Gemini lights as well. The lights do come in lots of other colours and accent finishes as well, so you can build your light to your own specifications and have it fit in with your living room or wherever you're planning to keep it. Serious Readers are currently offering my viewers £100 off of any light in their HD range using my code Sally24. This code also entitles you to free UK delivery and a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, so you can buy with confidence. The team are super helpful over at Serious Readers as well, so you can always give them a call or an email at any time if you do have any questions or you'd like any advice about the kind of light that would suit you best. I'll leave a link to the Serious Readers website, including the discount code, in the description below this video. Thank you so much to Serious Readers for sponsoring today's video. Hello everyone, thank you for joining me on those lovely few days out of the house. I had such a lovely few days, very busy and very full on because it was literally Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I was out of the house pretty much the whole day. So we're back at Tuesday now. And I'm having a day at home, which I feel is very much needed. I absolutely love doing all the things I did out of the house, but I do feel after so many days of being out of the house that I just need a day to be at home. I think you feel like that when you are a bit of an introvert, don't you? So today I am looking forward to just a nice day of doing some Christmassy bits and pieces. I actually have the house to myself today. Everyone's at school and my husband is out at work as well. So it's just me and the dog today, and there's a few things that I want to get done. It's the 17th of December as I'm filming this, and I do not know where December has gone. I feel like I say that quite a lot on this channel. I'm always going on to everyone about how quickly time is going, but I do feel as though December has flown by, and I'm getting that feeling that I always seem to get every year, and I'm sure we all get, where it's getting later into December and you just feel like there's so much that you wanted to do and you've got like a week to do it in now. So there's films that I wanted to watch, there's baking that I wanted to do, I want to finish my jacket, just loads of wrapping, all those kind of things. And yeah, it's kind of suddenly got to like a week before Christmas. It's kind of scary how time flies, isn't it? So today, Christmas baking. Christmas baking is something I thought I would be doing a lot of this December, but I actually have not baked a single thing yet. Can't remember if I've shared this book with you in a previous video. Please forgive me if I already have and I'm repeating myself, but you'll know how much I love my very old British Bake Off book. I use it all the time. I've also got this Christmas version, the Great British Bake Off Christmas. This has got lots of lovely Christmassy recipes in it, some of which I would never attempt because they're a little bit difficult for me. But there are some really nice sort of easier ones, and actually I mentioned a Yule log that I haven't made this for a while, but I did go through a phase of making this quite a lot every Christmas, and this is the recipe. So this is Mary Berry's recipe. It's one of the easier Swiss roll recipes I've ever attempted to follow in the past, so I'm definitely going to try and have a go at this. But what I want to try and make today is these Lebkuchen stars. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but I think it's Lebkuchen. I think they're a German biscuit. Yeah, classic German Christmas delight. I absolutely love these biscuits. I buy them all the time from places like Aldi and Lidl because they do the nicest ones. They do them in Tesco as well, but they're not as good as the Aldi and Lidl ones. So I thought it was about time I had a go at making my own version. I always felt as though they'd be quite difficult to make, but actually the recipe doesn't look too bad. So we're going to have a go at those this morning. So what you do for these is basically melt all the wet ingredients and mix them into the dry ingredients and form a dough, and then you need to put it in the fridge for a little bit. This recipe actually says to ice them with like an egg white icing. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is melt some dark chocolate and put the dark chocolate on the top, because the ones I've had from Aldi have dark chocolate on and they are just absolutely delicious, and I love dark chocolate, so I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's my plan for this morning. And then while those are chilling or cooking, I'm going to work on my jacket. And it's really funny because this seems to be a Tuesday jacket. It's a jacket that I only seem to work on Tuesdays. The last 2 Tuesdays in my videos I've been sewing or working on. I haven't done any actual sewing yet apart from the binding, but I've been working on this jacket like every single Tuesday basically, and then leaving it for a week and then coming back to it. I really want to make some good progress on this week basically. We will see how far we get today. So yeah, I hope you enjoy coming along with me for a lovely festive day at home. I said I would share with you the book that I got from the library, and this is what I picked up. It's called Miracle on Christmas Street by Annie O'Neill. So I just really wanted something that was going to be very easy to read, just a typical sort of cheesy style novel filled with Christmas cheer really. So I picked up this one mainly because of the cover, I have to say. I just thought it looked really pretty and really inviting. I'm about halfway through at the moment and I'm really enjoying it. It's just so lovely and easy to read. It's just basically about a girl who has had a bit of a tough time and she moves into a street called Christmas Street where they're doing a human advent calendar. So every day someone on the street does an activity or something nice for the rest of the street, and yeah, it's quite nice and heartwarming, and all the characters just have their own story, and I think we're heading towards a bit of romance as well. So it's just one of those lovely easy to read books, and I'm really enjoying it. Right, biscuit dough is chilling in the fridge. That was it's a reasonably easy process, but there's a bit of waiting around because you have to melt the ingredients and then you leave them to cool and then you do the dry ingredients. So while I was just waiting for all of that melted stuff to cool down a little bit, I made a start on my collar, my Ilford collar. So that's what I've done so far, literally just sewn it. That's actually one of the first steps in the instructions to do. So you actually do the collar before you do any of the other pieces of the jacket. This is if you're doing the simple version without the sleeve placket, by the way. If you're doing the sleeve placketed version, then you actually do that first and then you go on to the collar. But I'm doing the simple, straightforward version today, which is my favourite. I just thought I would share something. I was having a little thought there while I was doing my baking, doing my sewing and all that kind of stuff. I was just having a bit of a moment where I thought, this is such a nice day. I am having such a nice day doing all of the things that I love. But what I wanted to share was that if you are someone like me who has a mind that verges on the anxious side, let's say, there's always this thought that every time I feel like that, or every time I get that kind of thought where I think I'm so grateful for this, I'm so grateful that I get to do this or have this morning or whatever, there's always this little thing in the back of my mind saying, yes, you're enjoying this now, but you know, something bad might be around the corner that's going to happen. And I get that quite a lot, and anxiety is something that I do suffer with a bit. But it's not sort of an overpowering thing in my life anymore, thankfully. I do have it a lot more under control. But I think if you are someone who suffers a little bit with anxiety, that can be a real problem. Letting myself enjoy things and letting myself look forward to things is a real difficulty, and something that I really need to sometimes pull myself up on and think, no, you are allowed to enjoy this moment, you're allowed to enjoy this day, and just kind of stay present in the moment without letting your mind go into overdrive. I wanted to share that because there's always this thing of sharing things like this in my videos anyway. I'm quite private anyway and don't necessarily share these things easily, but something that helped me more than anything else in my own anxiety journey, I guess, is to know that other people feel the same as me, that you're not the only one going through these things. And sometimes Christmas can be such a difficult time, can't it? I think if you do suffer from anxiety, it can just be one of those times where things can feel quite overwhelming, and even though you are enjoying the things, there's always that little thing at the back of your mind that's sort of there eating away, isn't it? So I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone if you do feel like that. I think it's quite normal. Yeah, you're definitely not alone, is basically all I was going to say. I wanted to share that just in case it is helpful to anyone out there. I'm going to go back to trying to enjoy my day now, enjoy the things that I love, enjoy my baking, enjoy being at home on my own and doing my sewing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm waiting for the biscuits to chill. I've got about half an hour. So I'm going to carry on with this Ilford. So next we are doing the shoulder seams and then the sleeves. I'm not going to film a load of the sewing process because I don't want this to be a sew along. It is a Vlogmas video after all. But I will share a bit and catch up with you along the way. here's where we're at. A jacket, something that's looking like a jacket. Obviously we still have a long way to go, and I have these bits of binding here that need chopping off. So I've sewn the shoulder seams, the sleeve heads, and up the sleeve and down the side seam. I can't remember what comes next. I think it's the forming of the button band. I'm a little bit worried that my thread is slightly lighter than this fabric, and it's going to show up with my top stitching. So I'm going to have a look upstairs, see if I've got anything that matches better. Otherwise, unfortunately, it might be another trip back to Hobbycraft, which I really don't want to have to do. Yeah, it's annoying, but I'm going to see what I can do. I need to get on with my biscuits now though, because I've left them for longer than half an hour in the fridge. I think it's been more like an hour. I think that should be okay, hopefully. So I'm going to do those and then get them in the oven, carry on with this.
See the blazing you before us. Fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. Fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure. Fa la la.
I never know whether it's better to have the lights on or off in these videos when the days are so dark. I've also got some flashing lights sort of in front of me here on the patio doors, so if it seems as though I'm kind of going between ghostly and orange, that's probably why. Anyway, I have done my biscuits, they're all chocolated now. I've just kind of whipped chocolate over them and hoping for the best. So they are just setting now. I had a little taste test at lunchtime and they are really nice. The only thing I'd say is that they are much more gingery than the ones I've had before in the shops, and they're also quite crispy, whereas the ones I've had in the shops before are kind of spongy. So let me know if you know, are there different kinds of these biscuits that you can bake? Are they usually crispy? Are they usually soft? I'm not really sure. But nonetheless, these are quite nice, and the house smells so lovely and Christmassy now because of all the spices in the biscuits. So that was so nice to do this morning. So I now have a few hours to get on with this sewing, which will be broken up slightly with the school run. But I feel as though I'm in that kind of sewing headspace where I just really want to get my head down and get progress done on this jacket. So what I've done is, let me know if this helps you in your sewing life as well. I've just run around the house and done a little reset. So I've tidied and put away all of the baking stuff that was out in the kitchen. I've just quickly tidied the front room, put away a load of post and things that was hanging around, and I've hung my washing out, which was in the washing machine, which I'd just left from this morning. I feel like sometimes if I know I'm in that sort of headspace, sorry, I just turned off the washing machine then because it was very noisy. I feel like when I'm in this kind of headspace where I just want to spend a lot of time sewing, if I just have everything else in the house tidy and organised, it helps me to feel less stressed and to enjoy the whole process more. Let me know if you're the same. It might be a little tip actually, something that helps you if you do struggle with sort of overwhelm. I know for me, sewing in the dining room here, everything can get cluttered quite easily because I'm using the kitchen and I'm using the dining table and I'm moving things from the dining room into the front room, and it does sort of affect my head a little bit. So if I just stop for a minute, reset and then start again, it often makes me feel better. Just had a little lunch break and I've been watching This Is Us. Let me know if you've watched it. I have been watching this show for a good few years actually. It's one of the best things I've ever watched, but it is so emotional and I just feel like I have to watch a little bit of it and then I have a break from it and then I come back to it. I'm actually on the last season of it now, so I really need to get to the end, but if you've watched it you'll know it is so emotional. It gets me every single episode. I don't think I can watch an episode without tearing up slightly. It's just so good. It's written so well. I probably mentioned it on here before actually. I still haven't finished watching it, so I must get to the end of that. It's something that I watch when everyone's out because no one watches it except for me. My husband was watching it for a while, then he kind of gave up on it. Sometimes it can be slightly cheesy at times, but I actually think that it's written really well, and it really does sort of get you, and you identify quite a lot with a lot of the characters. So I'm kind of slowly getting through that, but I just finished an episode on my lunch break and thought I would mention it. Let me know if you've been watching it or you have watched it. I know I'm very behind. Let me know what you thought. I'm going to get sewing now. The next thing I need to do, now that I've done the side seams, is actually bind my hem, because when we come to sew the button band and the hem, I'm not going to do the folding under that you would normally do to enclose the raw edge. I'm just going to have the bound edge. So now is the time to bind the hemline. Have the yellowing lights on. I'm going to have to just go with it because it's getting so dark. I love this kind of day though, really, because when it's dark all day like this, all the Christmas lights in the house all just shine nicely all day while I'm at home, so that's nice. Button bands and hem are done. I'm so pleased with how they went. I was really worried that I was going to get a horrible puckery situation doing that button band and hem. So the hem is done as well. I really like the way the hem and button band is formed on the Ilford. So you kind of tuck your hem underneath your button band like that, so you get a really nice neat finish. So now we're actually on to the collar. You can see how quickly the Ilford actually comes together, can't you? Although I haven't done the pockets yet, you'll note, because in the Ilford pattern you actually put the pockets on last, which I think is actually quite a good thing. It's always quite nice to get the length once you've sewn all of the jacket, and then you can see where the pockets go once your hem and your button band is all done, rather than sort of try to fiddle around working out where they should go and taking into account the hem and the button band. So next is collar. Let's see if I can do that before I need to go out for the school run. Okay, I'm loving how this is looking. The collar is on, and I think these colours go so nicely together. I tried to show you a little bit of putting the cuffs in, but they did take a little bit of fiddling around and just changing slightly. So I had made them really quite long. So I sewed them in and then decided to cut about 3 inches off of the length, and actually they're still quite long. So what I've done is I've folded under a hem anyway, and then I've just kind of folded it in again, so I can kind of decide how long or wide I want the cuffs to be. If I find that they're a bit annoying like that, I might just decide to cut them off again and just make them a little bit shorter. I was kind of guessing the length anyway, so I didn't quite know how long to make the cuff piece. So all we need to do now is pockets and then poppers. So I'm going to get these pockets done. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to leave this now. I feel like I'm going to have to just keep going until the end. Pockets, poppers, done. as we all knew, I just could not leave it last night. I just had to see it through to the end. So I think after I spoke to you yesterday, carried on with the cuffs, and then in the end I just did the snaps as well. I think when it comes to buttons and snaps, I'm in danger of just putting it up and then leaving it for a few days thinking, oh, I'll do the snaps soon, and then don't get around to it because it's quite scary, isn't it? So this is what it looks like, all finished and done. And this is how the pockets turned out. I have to say, doing these pockets does take a little while actually, because it does take a bit of measuring back and forth to make sure you get them sort of symmetrical, and they're so hard to sew on sometimes, patch pockets, and get them really neat. They're much neater than I thought they might end up being in this bumpy fabric, so I'm pleased with that. I love how the cord accents the rest of the jacket, by the way. I'm so glad that I did that. That's what the cuff looks like. The cuffs are a little bit bulky because I have folded them to the inside, so as I say, I'm going to just sort of wear it and see how I feel about that, and I might end up just trimming some off and then hemming again. In hindsight, I think what I maybe would do next time is make this cuff double so that you don't have any raw edge inside and you just sew it on as like a double-faced cuff, if that makes sense. And I think that would probably be neater. So I'll show you the insides as best as I can. This is how the binding looks. I'm really pleased with the binding actually as well. There was a little area in the sleeves here, just where the sort of the round and the underarm bit joined, where I just had to go in and just neaten with some hand stitches because I hadn't quite sort of neatened that properly with the machine. So I did go through everything yesterday and just sort of hand sew anything that I wasn't happy with inside. But overall, I'm so happy with how that binding looks, and I think the snaps just finish off the jacket really well. This fabric, I would say it wasn't the easiest to sew. It definitely takes a little bit of work, a bit of preparation, and a little bit more taking your time. But I mean, I sewed that all in a day pretty much yesterday, aside from the binding and the preparation. So I hope that gives a good idea as well of how quickly the Ilford jacket does come together. Obviously, I think this is my 5th one now. So I am quite familiar with the whole process, and I feel like I can do it quite quickly. But I still would say that the Ilford jacket, especially if you sew it without the sleeve plackets, is a really, really good beginner jacket. It's certainly one that I would recommend to anyone that wants to start out making a jacket. You can make it in a lovely, lightweight, easy to sew fabric like a twill or a cotton drill or something like that, and it's a lovely sew. I love the Ilford. So yeah, I'm thoroughly pleased with this. I'm so glad that I managed to finish it before Christmas. I think it will probably get some good wear when we're going in and out of the car over Christmas time. So that's my final make, I think, of 2024. I highly doubt I will be getting any more sewing done now between now and Christmas. So I think I'm going to leave the video here and just say thank you so much for watching today's Vlogmas video. I feel like it's been a very cobbled together one over a good few days. We've still got a couple of days before the children break up, but to be honest, all I'm going to be doing is wrapping presents and cleaning the house, and I didn't think that was particularly interesting to include, and I really want to get this video edited to the best that I can and get it up on time for Sunday. Over Christmas, I will be just having a break from YouTube and putting out videos, and I'll probably be having a break from Instagram as well. Last year, I took a complete social media break over Christmas time for about 2 weeks, and I think it did me the world of good, and I came back then just feeling sort of energized and creative and sort of ready to get going and had loads of ideas, and I feel like it did me good. So I think I'm going to try and do that again this year, but I will be back at the beginning of January with more sewing videos. I think when you enjoy something so much like I enjoy my YouTube and my sewing and my content creation, I love it so much, it can be quite hard to take a break, but it is really important to just have that break, and you always come back feeling more energized and more creative. So before I go, I just want to say a massive thank you so much for watching my videos. Thank you for watching today, but also thank you for watching throughout the year. Thank you for your comments and your likes and your support and your community and your encouragement. It really does mean the world to me, and I hope you know that. I really hope that you have a lovely Christmas, however you celebrate, whatever you do, whether you celebrate or not. I hope you have an amazing couple of weeks or however long you're taking for Christmas. I just hope you manage to find some rest and some recuperation and some happy times and happy memories. I'm in danger of waffling when I get to these end bits, so before I go on any further, I'm just going to say take care everyone, have an amazing time, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the new year. Bye.